show, guys. I think this next one is just for you, Will.
I can't do this music's pretty loud.
For those of you listening to this stream right now, this music is a friend of ours by the name Mr. Dan Unger, one of the most amazing guitar players that we know.
We can barely hear you, Dave. The music is really loud and you're pretty quiet.
How's that? Any better?
You're a bit louder. The music's still really loud.
How's that? Is that any better?
I mean, I had to stare at Tucker Carlson's name, but not really.
I turned it down. If you're watching this stream, guys, answer in the comments. Hopefully before the answer shows.
Or not. Nobody's holding a gun to your head.
It's a scary fact that Mr. Rogan has more viewers than all of network. All the network had TV.
Probably something to do with him being more entertaining than most of network TV.
I have Austin in the green room, but it hasn't. Isn't it? Oh, there you are, Austin.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I had to unassign you from the green room. I didn't know I had to do that.
you know what? I liked being in the green room. It was very calming.
Free snacks in the green room.
Oh, yeah, good times. Good times. Man, that is a lot of Google searches. Holy moly.
I do remember this album, and I love it. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Will and Dave Show. Tonight we're going to be talking about a little bit of the impeachment, and as well we're talking about the stock market fiasco involving GameStop, AMC, and a couple of other stocks as well, as it's been a wild ride there. So buckle in.
Welcome to the Will and Dave Show.
Hey, Will. How's it going, my man?
Welcome to the table. Oh, you know, it's going.
I think I cut you off a little bit early there.
No, it's okay. Is our stream lagging, or is that just me?
You're good here.
Okay, as long as I'm good there. It's just fuzzy on my end. It's probably just internet.
No, I think you're good. You're always good.
Groovy.
If you're lagging, nobody notices the difference from normal.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, before we go much further, we're just going to do this really quickly this week. We're going to run through our sponsors, and then we have a guest this week. So we're just going to run through really quickly Stitched by Susan because we think she's really cool. The Hardys because they're awesome and they watch our show. And Rafter G, Land and Cattle because once when you were young, they made you wear a cowboy hat.
And boots, I think.
Probably. So without further ado, Austin Antles is joining the show this evening. Now let me unmute you, Austin. I'm sorry, that's my fault. Hey, there you go.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah, no one made me wear any cowboy boots or cowboy hats. But
Well, you've already got that sweet baritone. They saw me and they're like, he needs all the help he can get.
yeah, man. No, that you know what? That's why I brought him my good old USA hat
There we go.
because I just was worried. I was worried there
I'm
wasn't enough
outnumbered,
America in this show.
So
It's true,
before
there's
we
not.
move on along in the show this evening, I want to do a disclaimer here a little bit. Is Austin is a member of the family. He married Allison, whose voice you hear in the opener, who says, "Welcome to the Will and Dave Show" in that beautiful soprano voice. So Austin is a member of our family, and we love him. So,
Well, I appreciate that. Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
well, I'm the patriarch of the
really
family.
just boosted my
Yeah,
mood
yeah,
right
yeah.
up.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm the old man of the
There has-
family, right?
There has to be conflict.
Yeah,
Conflict sells.
Yeah, that's right. So,
Uh,
and I think I heard Allison in the background. Did she say something there? Because I thought I heard her, but maybe not.
I don't know. She's here. I could tell her to keep it down a little bit. They're playing games, which means she's going to be yelling.
Oh, gotcha. It's okay. I don't really care.
She's not. She wasn't listening.
Okay.
What do we want to start with? Do we want to start with impeachment part 2, Trump Boogaloo?
No,
wanna
let's
start
begin with
with,
the Stonks thing because I know nothing about the
Stonks.
Stonky thing, and I kind of want to get into Stonkies. So
It's
So
the stonkening.
let's do the stonkening. Yeah.
Stonkening.
So Austin,
Yeah,
if I heard you right earlier last week, you have a bit of a connection to the stonking story. Is that correct?
Yeah, just a slight one. I mean, I don't anymore. So I was the proud owner of 4 GameStop shares. So I could say I was part of the movement, but I wasn't there during the huge fiasco. I've actually been in since 2017, so I'm actually an OG founder. But yeah, I remember when everything was happening, Allison was like, "Do you have any GameStop stocks?" Or she was more of, "Are you gonna invest too, like everybody?" And I was like, whoa, Allison. There's some weird market manipulation, I think, going on. I don't think I'm gonna get involved. But then I went home and I was like, I better check my Robinhood really quick. And then, oh, my portfolio's at $1,400. Hey, cutie, guess what? We're back in the game, baby. And so I went from being almost slightly like a little worried to I was all in. So yeah, I made some money off of GameStop. I made some money off of AMC, BB, all of the meme stocks that were pushed through all of that.
Right.
So for those who are listening who don't know what the story is here, I'll give a brief rundown of what happened. From my understanding, I could be wrong here. I'm very much an amateur, but a couple of hedge funds decided to, what is it? It's not short sell. It's what's the term for it?
Short the stock.
Yeah, they wanted to short the stock, and a group of people, I think, partially influenced by a subreddit. What was it called again? Wall Street Bets.
Wall Street
Bets subreddit.
Yeah.
They decided screw that noise, and they started buying the stock en masse, inflating the price up astronomically. So, like what was it, 1,700% or something? Last I checked, was it? Where was its peak?
Yeah, something like that. It's like it's down 75%, but it's still up 700% over the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. So it's a massively inflated it, and so it cost these hedge funds cumulatively billions of lost revenue due to this, and so it's created a bit of a debacle legally because it's market manipulation. But what the hedge funds were doing was also market manipulation. So who gets punished for manipulating the market and who doesn't?
And when you kind of look at it, as much as it's like oh, this is a huge victory for the small guys. I mean, in reality, you look at the data, it was institutional money that really
Mhm.
caused the
Yeah.
skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Because I think
It was rich
so.
people who bought shitloads of stocks.
Oh yeah. Because it basically started. So there's a guy who on the subreddit he goes by DFV, which stands for Deep F in Value, and he had a YouTube channel called Roaring Kitty, and for the past few months, like since April, he started going off and looking at GameStop and seeing. I think it is the most shorted company um, in the entire stock market. And basically what it was is it was shorted, and by the point where there was 135% of shares allocated, which
Right.
means these hedge funds essentially were not only shorting their shares and saying it's going to go down, but they were borrowing from other hedge funds saying, hey,
Hmm.
we can make you some money too. So it was to the point where it was actually there wasn't enough shares to go around. And so Roaring Kitty came in and
Right.
said, hey, look, this stock is undervalued. They got a new CTO. He's a Amazon AWS guy. And
Hmm.
he's all pitching in. He's saying, hey, let's get into this. And so he threw 50,000 in. Then people started buying in, and he wasn't the only one. There's another hedge fund called Senvest Investments that in September they made like I don't know, like what was it, a couple million, basically a couple $1 million investment in the GameStop as well, and they made almost a
Hmm.
billion out of all this thing.
Wow.
Fidelity during everything, but 10% of GameStop's shares during the whole debacle. So it's like, yeah, hedge funds
Right.
were losing money, but the amount of money that hedge funds also made was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's just some hedge funds that lost the money.
So why are we
Yeah.
worried about the hedge funds since some made money, some lost money? Isn't that sort of the name of the game about the stock market? Or is there
it
more to it
is.
than that? Am I missing something?
I mean, it is the name of the game, but now a lot of these hedge funds are saying that we need to put policy in place to stop this from ever happening again, to stop, astronomical price inflation like that. But
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily the hedge funds that are evil. I think the thing that people look at is the fundamentals of a short and how they kind of go against the principle of what you would want from an economy. Because basically, you have people saying, I am betting this company is going to continue to go down and not produce revenue, and I will make money. Which in reality, if you want a stronger economy, why wouldn't you be looking at more and more opportunities of, okay, how do we make all of our businesses better instead of these hedge fund managers are just making a bunch of money because saying, hey, your company sucks and there's nothing you could do about it.
And then when enough of them do it, it makes the company suck more, and it kind of forces it down that tube.
So I think that now would be an awesome time to interject that this is an opinion show, that we don't know much of what we're talking about, but we definitely have opinions, and they are great and they are strong, and we're going to be really loud with our opinions, but they are opinions since none of us are great financial investment people except for Austin and his $1,400 winning from GameStop.
Oh yeah, I got to put up my Wall Street bets clause that's at the end of every post. I am not a financial advisor. Do your own DD. Don't be a stupid monkey. That's
I like
that's
that.
the disclaimer.
I like that. The one of the things that amazed me with the GameStop, I was watching an interview yesterday, a day before, with an advisor or an investment banker, and he was he's saying there's going to be a crash, that this whole economy is a bubble. And one of the things he said was short sales and short selling. He said usually it gets because of an overvalued company, and people know that they're overvalued. And he said, and they believe they're going to fall. He said the issue is everybody loses in a short sell. You can't win unless you are the short seller. And he said, so it is not a zero-sum game because it's sort of, it relies on a business failing. And that is, it's the nature of the game. And not that that is a right or wrong thing. It's the nature of a short sale. And I thought that was interesting. He said that for the majority of people, if you sell a stock short, he said you're a sucker. as he said, there always is somebody with deeper pockets than you.
Pretty much. That's like everything. And the whole thing with the GameStop is it wasn't even just that they were short, it's that they got greedy.
Right.
And basically they were all holding on to, they wanted zero. It wasn't even just, oh, we think it's bad. It's like, we want this stock to go to zero. We want this company to bankrupt and then make just buku bucks, which, I mean, they got bit for it.
Yes. Somebody made buku bucks.
Yeah,
and then we have the Robinhood controversy on top of all that as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a Robinhood story for you, actually.
Oh.
Is I am a member of Robinhood. I was a member before it was a thing. I was on the beta. I got an email invitation from a friend of mine, and I got to looking. I still have my account. I have never invested $1 with Robinhood, except I have been I've been a user of the Robinhood account since they were in the beta program.
Right.
And I've never bought a single share through them. But it's still active.
Oh yeah,
I actually really liked Robinhood before, like even with the controversy, like it was there, but like before that, it was really cool. You know, coming from like you know, a college student who I don't really want to go through the trouble of calling up Fidelity or something like that, go through a broker, because even back then, I don't even think Fidelity was free trades back in like 2014 or whatever. I think it was relatively after competition. And so, I mean, they were still low, but you couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to buy a stock. It's like, no, you have to go through all of these things. And it's like Robinhood came out and you're like, whoa, I got 50 bucks. I'm just going to go buy a couple shares of GameStop or whatever. And I think it was good because it then changed a lot of these investment platforms to offer lower, you know, trade values.
It did.
But unfortunately, you have, because of that, in order to make money off of trades, is you basically have to sell your soul to like Citadel or a bigger, like, who gives you the shares, because you don't really own most of those shares. I don't think actually Robinhood owns any of the shares that they sell.
I imagine their revenue mostly just comes from like a minor shaving off the top and ad revenue, I would assume.
There also is the theory. Well, it isn't a theory. It gets like it's sort of a fact, if you can take it as that, is that if something is free, if a product is free, you are the product. And it holds true in Robinhood as well. They're making money off of its users in some way, either through kickbacks, you know, from the investment houses or somebody. They're making money somehow. I mean, everybody has
just
to
be through
money.
the tracking of information, because they have access now to what a huge portion of the population and how they're trading. That data is worth good money. So
there's
they caught
on that
so much blowback.
There's a bunch of quant firms, like 0.72, 2 Sigma, basically all of these hedge funds that this whole purpose is, they're just algorithms. Literally, they just hire these kids who make 300, 400,000 a year that just analyze the market and come up with algorithms. And they actually, at a point, were using Robinhood. There's called Robin Track that this guy developed, that you could see what retail investors were buying and selling. And so these firms would literally look at what the people were buying and selling and manipulate almost off of that and have their algorithms. Like some of them even use social media posts. And that's the crazy thing too, like how computer science and algorithms is really dictating the market. It's not like people anymore.
Big data is big money.
Yeah. It is. Well, since we've exhausted the little bit that we know about stonks and stock and the GameStop, I sort of want to move on to the giant peach. And one of the things that it's not really related yet to the peach, and yet it is a little bit, as Austin has a personal relationship with our new president.
I did. So when Alice and I were getting married, we actually invited Joe Biden to our wedding. At least we wanted to, because during the Obama administration, for some reason, just Uncle Joe really spoke to us, and just something about him we loved. And I was like, man, Joe Biden, he needs to. I want him at my wedding. And so like we talked a little bit to his secretary, or I don't know what exactly they were, but you had to go through his fund.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, thanks, but he can't make it." And it's like,
Well, we
okay,
tried.
Uncle Joe. Well, we tried.
So
But yeah, no, we were. It was actually funny. It was actually a joke. Most of my support for Biden, most of the time. But then it's just.
but
like,
hey,
uh-oh. Yeah.
he now is the president of the United States, and you have the auspicious honor of inviting him to your wedding, even though he didn't show. He was invited, and that's all that matters.
That's the point. The point is we invite him and he received it.
There you go.
Hmm.
It's the thought that
That's-
counts. Isn't that what we hear all the time? It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So this week, his opponent in the election has been, or not this, for 2 weeks now, has been the
Yeah.
the object of this impeachment, and everybody and their uncle is viewing it from their own standpoint and the political standpoint and from the right or wrong standpoint. And I have to admit, I'm tired of it. I mean, I listen to most of it or watch most of it. I'm sick of it. Surely there's
Yeah.
a joke in there somewhere we can find. Somewhere.
I enjoyed the one Republican senator getting upset that he was being interrupted while he was
you send me
interrupting
that.
somebody.
Yes.
I did. He was interrupting the person that he was asking questions to at a panel. So he asked them a question. They started answering it, and he interrupted them, and they just kept going. And he's like, "Stop interrupting me. My time's limited." I'm like, I would have just stopped answering his question.
I think it's funny how people feel like maybe it's just like this weird celebrity, like whole social media and everything. Or I love the jokes where I think it was Colin First from SNL when he was doing Weekend Update. He said the ex social media influencer Donald Trump has been impeached once again. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, as much as he was almost more of a Twitter like influencer
Yeah.
than anything else. So, and especially nowadays, and he almost has like a cult following where people like
Yeah.
they feel like they're being impeached.
Well,
at
he
the same
released a
time.
statement today, and I was wondering how he
he did?
released it. He released a statement after the impeachment
Oh,
acquittal,
yeah.
and I wondered, he must have sent out by snail mail, because I think that all access to all forms of electronic media has been suspended. So he
it through
probably
his
has the
wife's
Pony
account. She's still
Express
kosher.
somewhere.
Melania's still
Yeah, I
kosher. She
don't
could have
know.
sent it for
That's true. That's true.
him.
I had a conversation with a gentleman this week, and the further this goes and the more it goes into impeachment and all this nonsense, the more convinced he is that he won the election. And all the logic in the world that said, had he won, it would have ended up differently. And if he has fraud evidence, he would have brought it out. And the fact of the matter is, it is still in court, and a number of cases are still in court, are still ongoing, and there still is going to be a result of some sort
Trump's
with
gonna
some
be
of the
in-
lawsuits. But
Trump's going to be in court till the day he dies. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, he probably already was before he became president, but now it's a guarantee. He's going to be in court in some form or other until he dies. And probably past that, his children will still be dealing with it for many, many years.
this is
That's-
probably is one where it's one of the odd ones where he didn't have to show up or testify.
Yeah.
But
it's-
Trump probably wants that.
I
At
think
this
so.
point, the longer he can keep it in the courts, the longer that a resolution will actually happen. And so until there's actually a definitive, the courts say this, to him, in his mind, and to everyone else's mind. I mean, I guess even if the courts did say something, people still wouldn't believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Let's
yeah, I
Like-
don't think he wants that.
no. Any coverage is good coverage for him. But
Well,
yeah,
It
the
is for
word you
most
touched on, Dad.
politicians.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is the word you touched on there for a second was calling it theater, because
Yeah.
it is. It's theater. The whole impeachment, like we knew before it even started that it wasn't going to get anywhere, and it's been nothing but theater from start to finish. And the sad part is that Republicans literally admitted it in the
They
Senate, saying I don't know the exact quote, but essentially saying verbatim that he is guilty, but it's not right to impeach him. He did the thing. just the impeachment isn't what we
Yes.
should do.
Yeah.
And that it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we know how guilty he is of what we're accusing him of, but apparently this particular avenue of legal chase just isn't right. But we know he did it.
It's sort of interesting, though. It opens up an angle for civil courts, as that was actually, it was said in, again, the Senate today, is that it does open up the angle of the civic courts. And you wonder, you just wonder when this is all done, is there going to be a civil lawsuit? And I don't know that it would go anywhere, but you never know. I mean, it could be one of those end games that it's
I'm sure someone is. I'm sure someone, like, give it a couple of years, and then maybe I don't know, pick random civil group. We'll probably have someone like a Nancy Pelosi, who may have retired from politics, is now heading it up. And I'm not saying that she would do it, but I'm just saying someone like that. They're going to pick a far left ex-politician to run the show, and they're going to go to town in civil courts. Are they going to get anywhere? Who knows? Probably not. But they're going to try. They're going to do the best they can.
I have something to say on that, except I'm going to step away for a minute and leave you two with the screen, and I have to look something up. I'll be right back.
Okay. I think it's right up there with how I want to see Republican lawmakers and senators and whatnot. If they really truly believe what they said about fraudulent votes, now that the vote's over, they should still be pursuing that. They should not stop. Because if they stop pursuing their legal avenues to try, like with Dominion voting or whatever, if they stop, that's kind of a they're admitting that they were lying the whole time if they just stop. And Democrats, if they just stop trying to get Trump punished for what he did, then they're also admitting that they don't really believe it was that awful.
Yeah, you're kind of at this. It's like a point of tug of war, where both sides. I mean, the Republicans have always. I mean, they've been like this for the past. I mean, even towards. I mean, pretty much even Bush. They were kind of like the Republicans have been very much of all talk and like no action. They're very. It's like the filibuster party, almost, where they just always have something to say. I mean, even in the first impeachment, they were like, "Yeah, Trump did it. He's guilty with all these things, but I mean, it's not that bad." Or anything, and I feel like even in this instance where it was like one of the rare occasions, the Capitol attack was like one of the rare occasions where both sides kind of looked at it and said, "Yeah, this is a bad thing." Where I mean, you had like you still had what, like was it Ted Cruz that still was like, no, this isn't. You still had some Republicans that were just like, no, this isn't.
Who listens to Ted Cruz anymore? Like,
unfortunately, lots of people.
A lot of people.
Do they really?
A lot. Yes.
Enough to vote for him.
So I want to go back a little bit to something that you said, Will, about Nancy Pelosi. Right. That when she retires from politics. So I'm sorry, but I've been watching the Senate hearings and I've been watching the Congress. And when Nancy Pelosi retires, she's going to end up in a box of raisins because she looks like a box of raisins, and her face is going to be the mascot of Sun-Made Raisins. Because have you looked at her? Oh my God! Just darken it up a little bit. I mean, she's going to lay on a beach.
I don't like looking.
That's going to be Nancy Pelosi.
Politicians. I don't like those good HD cameras up in their faces because none of them. Mitch McConnell looks like a walking corpse at this point.
Oh, doesn't he though?
The flesh is just kind of hanging loosely off the bones.
Well, and the one and Schumer, who was running the hearings all week, I mean, he can't put four sentences together. He sounds like he's drunk. I swear the average age in the Senate really is deceased. It is. I mean, it's
like pretty much.
I really want to see, as much as I may still have issues with people like AOC, I want to see more people in her age demographic make it into politics. For the love of God, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Please get some young blood in there. I don't like. Well, I guess Republicans, they should get some credit. They have what's his noodle, who's like 26. He's younger than I am.
I can't
remember his name. Is he one of the Carolinas? He got elected as a like a member of the House. He's in his 20s.
Congress?
He's in a wheelchair.
There's a number in Congress who are young.
Yeah,
but not in the Senate.
Not in the Senate, but
most ones in the Senate are older than God. I think a few of them would think that they have control over God as they are the Senate, actually, because they're older than God.
Lindsey
Probably.
Graham. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
You know, I love all of the open. For me, it's just like every single time, it's like you think something can't get crazier or worse, and then they just open their mouths. Like that's it. Like it's not like anything actually happens. They just open their mouths.
Anytime the Senate has any kind of hearing revolving around the internet, when they bring in a Mark
they're so
Zuckerberg
good.
or an
Yeah.
Ajay,
Yes.
it makes me despair. Like this impeachment, Capitol being invaded, that's pretty bad. But listening to them ask questions to Mark Zuckerberg makes my soul hurt in such a way, because I realize that the people who have the power, who make the legislation, have no clue what they're talking about.
Imagine how it
They
makes Zuckerberg
Oh.
feel.
Oh yeah.
You can see it on his face. He's like, this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's like kind of the advantage the Dems have with like AOC, where like her Twitch streams like
Yeah,
get crazy
huge.
viewership.
Yeah.
And people love it. And people love
Yeah.
playing with her. And it's just like one of those things where that's the younger demographic. That's what they look at.
It's true.
And it's like
Yeah.
you don't see any Republicans trying that. To them, technology is
yet,
the
no.
devil still probably. They probably still have flip phones. I don't even know if they own iPhones or Androids at this point.
You could tell some of them were as bored as we were during the impeachment hearings. They were on their phones. It
Well,
was great.
Oh yeah.
it's one of the things. I mean, I've been watching this all week, and you sit there and you watch these, and you're exactly right. Well, they're sitting there and they're scrolling through their phone, and you think, are they actually there? And I don't think for most of them they are.
Nah, it's theater, and they know it's theater because they don't care.
I
'Cause
want
they
to
know
know
that
how
whether
much
or
his
not they are
lawyers were getting
engaged
paid,
in
though.
it. Oh God,
I would
Rudy
really like to
Giuliani.
know what the Trump lawyers were getting paid.
Rudy Giuliani at this point has got to be making like generational wealth just off of this whole fiasco.
Well, that's if
As
Trump
he
pays
was
him.
probably already. Rudy
and
Giuliani
like-
is, if nothing else, a talented lawyer. He'll get his money somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like how Will was saying, no side wants to admit defeat. So for them, it's just the principle. It's like they're there for the sole point of, I can't let the other side know that I'm admitting defeat. So like, yeah, they're not there at all. But for them, they're like, they get paid either way. And so they're just like, well, we'll waste taxpayers' money. We don't care about that.
That's fine.
I mean, the people don't care. The people love watching it.
And that, it really is true. Like, honestly, I bet you there were more who tuned into the impeachment hearings than who watched the latest episode of The Bachelorette or whatever is the latest show on TV. Like, it really is good theater. But
and I think that's all Trump's been is theater. I mean, he's probably he's a bigger actor than Reagan pretty much was being a president. Because I mean, you look at it, everything from "you're fired," all that stuff, like it's just spanned. To Trump, none of it's like serious. Like it's all just
it's true.
a big show.
It is.
It's all just a big show.
And honestly, I have said this for years, and you kids will remember me saying, it isn't about the man, it's about the party. And I think with Trump even, with him, it was less, as I think he was sort of a monkey wrench in the gears. I don't think he's your normal politician, so he broke a few of the rules and it pissed people off. And that is why you look at and you see Mitch McConnell, who sort of runs him over with a bus and backs him over and runs him over again, in the hearing today. But, I think that for all of these actors, like even for Joe Biden, I think that he is a name. He's at the head of the party. He is the president, except he runs according to the party. He really does. He is a big voice in the party, but he still is the party. And I like Obama. I always have. I've liked him as a man. I didn't like his policies, but I liked him because I thought he was a good man. He's a good husband. He's a good father, and I have a lot of respect for that. And I think it was hard to have that for Trump because he really was an arrogant ass. I mean, they're just...
nobody liked Trump. People
If you
support
see
him.
that, Will?
I mean, and now he has supporters.
I said ass, and so that way the algorithms do not hit me the way they do you earlier when you use the other word, you see.
I thought I was pretty good tonight.
You said the S word.
Did I?
You did.
I didn't hear anything.
YouTube's going to ding us another one. It's going to take one of our 5 viewers away.
Progress, baby.
Take us down, oh great powerful one. Oh,
That's
great
right.
YouTube. Well, and that's the whole thing for Trump. It's like, since he has that theater and he is like the main, to us, we're just commodities. We're just things to people. The people are just something to
Exactly.
play with. And so for him, he loves it. I mean, you look at Q, like QAnon,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is just feeding right
Sold
into
to
the
him.
ego, and
Yeah.
he loves it. Oh,
Yeah.
And I don't
Capitol
even
Hill,
think he believes in it. I just think he sees it as a tool.
Yeah, like I don't believe
Oh,
that he
yeah.
actually was like planning any kind of wild coup at Capitol Hill, or even necessarily had
No.
malicious, specifically plans. He planned for a mob to go mess things up, and he incited them, and he loved it. I
Okay,
think he loved every second of it.
whoa. I want to go back to that. We still have a few minutes. So you believe that he meant for that to happen?
For the Capitol, I don't know
Riot?
exactly what he meant. I think he meant for a riot to happen. Yes.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
I
If
don't
if
think
there's
Trump
one
is
thing-
stupid enough to not expect that.
Yeah. This is the thing, is he's either so dumb that what he said, like all his tweets and all his things, either he's so dumb that he didn't clue in to how that could incite people, or he's smart enough to know that he was egging people on with everything but physically like saying go riot in the Capitol building.
So I think
He was
that he
inciting
knew
it.
that there was going to be a protest,
No, he wanted more than a protest.
but I don't know that you can say that he planned for them to ransack the Capitol building.
Ransack the building, probably not, but he wanted them to make a stink. He wanted them to go beyond just a protest. He wanted more than a protest. If he just wanted a protest, he would have asked for a protest. He wanted a
He
war.
did ask for a
wanted
protest. He
people.
invited them for
He
a
wanted-
protest.
He invited them to fight. He invited them
Oh, don't get
to
me going on the
convince them by
fight word.
force.
Don't get
But
me going on the
it's-
fight word.
Well, what was it? Not Trump, but Giuliani at that event
Yes.
right before Trump.
Yes.
Like it's everything but the actual verbatim incitement. They did everything but. It's as much of a carrot on the stick in front of that crowd as you could reasonably imagine, without a
Yes.
sign saying this is a carrot on a stick, follow it.
I see, this is where I differ from a lot, is I don't think that oh man, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think that he wanted this to happen. I do think that when it happened, he looked at it and said, I just think I'll let this go for a little while.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do think that. I do think that he knew,
at a
like,
minimum.
the whole world knew, and for him, we had to wait for 2.5 hours before he called for peace.
Like,
I just think he leaned
even-
back and said, "You know what? Have at her, boys." I don't think, but
See,
I don't think he wanted it. I think he honestly, I think he wanted a protest. He wanted noise.
I think he knew it
wanted
was
hollering.
coming,
But I don't think that this was in his game plan.
though. With DC officials asking for extra help in preventing something the day before it happened and getting shot down by the Pentagon, there's no, why would they shoot that request down? If DC officials are like, hey, we're significantly worried something's going to happen here, we need extra manpower, and the Pentagon's like, nah,
I think you need
forget
to read,
about it.
I think you need to read your news a little bit more. They were offered help, and the mayor of DC said no, he didn't want help and they offered help to the chief of the Capitol Police, and he said it was bad for optics. He didn't want it. So there was offered help in the week up to the riots.
In
Not
the week up to,
excusing
but
the
I'm
riots,
talking day before. Because unless I'm terribly mistaken, it was day before that DC officials said we need help,
Oh, yeah.
and the Department
We'll
of
have to
Homeland
look into
Security
that for next week,
said
because
no.
I think that would be a stretch, because a number of people on the left even said, why were we not prepared, that we knew this was going to happen?
Well, yeah.
And there's been a number of people on the left who said, wait a minute, as bad as this is, why was there only, there's only a group of Boy Scouts with slingshots there to protect the castle. It didn't make sense. But
Made no sense.
it sure made for a lot of news media.
Yeah,
and they're
Oh
riding
yeah,
it.
the
had a
cycles
field
loved
day.
it.
Yeah, they did.
I
they had me hooked
I
in.
think
Like, I was
it's
checking my phone every 5 minutes.
oh yeah, I was watching it on YouTube all over the place.
Mm.
I think in today's climate in the United States especially,
Yeah.
I think it's really to say like in this is like you're treating that maybe Trump's dumb. I think anyone else is super dumb to not realize saying those things to want a protest. No one peacefully protests in the United States so far. 2020, I don't think had like almost a single peaceful protest that didn't end badly.
That's true.
Yeah.
And when you have especially someone like Trump who's deep in the queue and knows about 3%ers,
Yeah.
to basically call out and say how much he wants Pence's head on a pike for everything. Like, of course, he probably didn't want it, but he probably loved it.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, let's get Pence. Let's bring him out kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's very negligent to not anticipate that to happen with your words.
Yes.
When
today.
he
It's just a
gave his
bad read.
speech and there was a noose in the background, there's no excuse for not knowing something was coming down the pipes. Hours
Right.
at the latest, hours before it happened, you had to know. You had to know.
You know, I do think,
I think-
and this is the only argument against that, and it's not a very good one, so forgive me. Although I think that
Never.
the fact that the PR from this was so bad,
Mhm.
this was the worst thing he could have done after his Bible to church thing. Like
Yeah,
this, like this whole thing, the optics were so bad, and if he's that
Yeah.
silly to think that was a good move, like for heaven's sakes, I mean that was just the worst of all possible moves. And so I wonder,
Yeah.
you know, if it was a planned event, which I don't think that he planned for this. I think he
No.
planned for a protest, yes, but I don't think he planned.
That's
But
what I
I-
say.
It wasn't
He's
well
either smart
thought
enough
out
that
if
he
it
planned
was.
it all, or he's dumb enough that he did it without realizing how bad it could get. And I personally think he's not that smart. So I think that it's.
I agree with Austin though. It's the year of the riots.
Mhm.
Like,
Like,
yeah,
I mean, the people, like the public, have realized that to at least a certain extent, if they're loud enough, they can be noticed, because it's so easy now to be loud. I mean, it used to be that you could riot and only people locally would really know or care about it.
Mhm.
Now a riot in Portland is national news,
right.
and I think
And-
it's part of internet culture, is that it spreads so fast,
true.
so quickly, and the people are realizing that if they yell out enough, they can be noticed.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good cause or not, it depends on the cause, but
Yeah.
anyone can be heard now.
It's
well, and I think also
true.
like not to get like super political, it's like you see two spectrums. I mean, you have one protest where rioters break into a Nike store and there's tear gas, rubber bullets coming in, and all hell breaking loose. Rioters destroy the Capitol and everyone sits by and watch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like it's shown that almost white people can protest aggressively and nothing will come of it during it. But like if you have a BLM movement, I mean,
Shots fired.
Shots fired, yeah, and you're running for the hills.
I agree with those shots fired, because it's the response was not appropriate to the crime in any metric.
I'm going to bow out of that discussion because I don't know where I stand on it. I have opinions and I don't know how valid they are, so I'm just gonna.
Wow.
Mm.
I hate to
Mm.
break
When
it
you
to you,
look at-
Dave.
When you look at the riots at Capitol Hill, it was a riot. It was 1,000 people or 1,500 people who made it up into who were involved in the
Who were
actual
in the
riot,
Capitol, yeah.
who were in the
Right.
who climbing the walls, etc. There was about 1,000
Yeah.
people there. When you look at the riots in Portland and in Michigan and Minneapolis, etc., and you look at the prolonged over months of violence and the months of unrest,
Yeah.
I do think that there was a difference of response. I think that there was a difference of response in Washington as it took them by surprise. For whatever reason, it took them by surprise and they weren't prepared for it. The after effects, though, I think have been harsher at the Capitol.
Too.
Well, partially because
What's that, Austin?
everyone was stupid enough to live stream it at the Capitol.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I don't know. I think we get taken by surprise, and it's like I consider almost, you look at it, it was almost like an act of terrorism. I mean, 9/11 took us by surprise, and look what happened there. I mean, they are completely different. I think one was way worse than the other because almost was an act of treason. I mean, what are we telling to our enemies overseas?
Yeah.
Hey, our people can terrorize our capital, our thing. So hey, why don't you guys come on? And like,
Yeah, imagine
overseas,
what
they don't
100
care
dudes with
about-
guns could have done to the Capitol.
Yeah.
So as an inside, sort of an inside angle on this, I have a friend of mine whose neighbor went to Washington and in D.C.
Yeah.
Him with a group of about, I think he said 18 guys. And they were walking around the Capitol and they were looking for Antifa.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't met this guy, so this is secondhand, or third hand. So take this as well. But they were walking around the Capitol. They were looking for Antifa. So my friend said to him, "Well, what were you going to do when you found them? If you found them, like, what were you going to do?"
Yeah.
And they were all armed. So all of them were from northern Washington and Idaho. They're all armed. And he sort of looked at him and said, "I don't know." Like, he didn't have a plan. He was looking for Antifa. So he left Eastern Washington and he went to Washington, D.C. to look for Antifa. And they walked around all day long and they never found Antifa. And then they came home. So they were not in the riot, but they were walking the building.
Yeah.
So I think that there were people there who were looking for a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So-
100%.
So if Trump had said anything or not, there were people there who were choked. Did Trump egg them on? Yes. But there were people there who were looking for reason
Well, yeah.
to fight.
But it's.
And he
I
was
still
one.
find it hard to equate the two. Is like. Yeah, they were looking for a fight, but what Trump was saying, like his words weren't just, come on over and do it. It was an implication of, if you do it, it'll be okay. Again, not
I
not
wholeheartedly
verbatim.
agree.
Yeah, it was an implication of, if you do this, you're doing
Yeah.
it with my blessing, essentially. And so so people who are all the people who are being interviewed now, and they're saying, well, he asked us to. He called us to DC to do it. Not raid Pelosi's office necessarily,
Right.
but to make a big statement, and that we
Yes.
and that we were doing it for him.
Yes.
And then he threw them under the bus.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a part of the problem, William. He hasn't thrown them under the bus. And that's what people are looking for him to do. He hasn't thrown them under the bus. He hasn't. He has not condemned them. And that's what they
He
want
called
him
them.
to do.
What
but
did he call
won't.
them again? True patriots.
Yeah.
Was it in the interview?
He hasn't thrown them
Uh,
under the bus yet.
we
And that's
love
what
him.
people want him to do. And he hasn't. And I think that is
He's
a
not gonna
part of what
protect
makes
them,
him look
I think.
good. Well, I agree with you, because it gets hard to protect a person who breaks into the building.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It gets hard to do that. But I think everybody is looking for some remorse from he who shall not be named. And he's not giving him any. And that, I think, is one of the damning parts with Trump, is that he's not saying,
Yeah.
okay, boys need to stand down, or whatever he told Proud Boys last, stand by and
down and
stand
stand
down.
by.
Whatever
Stand
that
by,
line
stand
was.
down.
He's not even doing that much. He's saying, I'm a man of law and order, and that's not
Sure
going
thing.
very far in the PR department. But
No.
so all of this, guys, has caused a lot of sleepless nights for a lot of
Yeah.
folks. I have a lady who's a friend of mine who is just so worked up, and she holds everyone who voted for Trump responsible for those riots.
I don't
And
know if
I don't know that I
far,
go
but
that far, but I do think that there's a bit of culpability on those of us, and I count myself in this, who voted him into office. There's a little bit
Yeah.
of culpability for
I think
saying
that-
this is okay.
I think that there's a little bit of culpability for getting him in the first place, but I don't think anyone saw this coming down the pipes. I
No.
think to say that you saw this coming would be disingenuous. But I think there is certainly some culpability for people who still back him after that, like that still think that he's the right choice for the country. I feel like that's an indicator of
But can we please get a decent candidate on either side?
please. I would
So
love
we
that.
don't need a Trump?
Can we
that's
elect a
the hard
rock,
part.
please?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think because at the end of the day, everyone's responsible for their own actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we can get candidates and all these things, but it's like all those people at the Capitol Hill, like they chose that. Like Trump could have said, "Hey, go kill someone," and you still have to make the active choice
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
to do it. And I think that's the problem is every single person blames another person for their actions. That's kind of, you look at it, Trump blames this, or people blame this. And it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, did Trump incite insurrection? It doesn't matter. The people chose it.
Yes.
Like, they could have easily said no.
Yeah.
And
some
we just
did.
need, the problem is, and some did. And we just need a candidate who will be able to say, look, we are our own individuals. Like, we make the decisions, not
Freedom, baby.
yeah. Freedom.
Personal accountability. There's
Doesn't
a novel
exist.
concept.
Doesn't exist in
Never
America.
heard of it.
It's the Canadians' fault.
Yeah,
There
I
you
blame
go.
everything on.
It's all
I
Trudeau's
blame
fault.
everything on.
It's all,
the,
it's all Trudeau's fault.
I blame everything on the Cobra chickens in Canada. That's their fault.
Well, Austin, I want to say thank you for joining us. It has been awesome. You're always
Yeah,
welcome
no,
on the show.
Oh, right on. Cool. Yeah, no, it was a good time.
You were
It was
more
always-
lively than I
always
gave.
fun.
Than I thought you would be. I thought you'd be a little bit more sleepy, like Sleepy Joe, but no.
Nah.
Well, I popped some Dayquil and stuff like that, and I was ready to go.
Awesome.
Ready to go.
Are you feeling out
my,
from under the weather? Are you
A
on
little bit. I'm
on
on
the
the
uphill
up and
side?
up.
Right on.
The up and up. Yeah. I'm a that shall not be named survivor.
The other
You
C
and
word.
Allison, actually. Allison is also a survivor of that which shall not be named. How's she doing?
Yeah.
Is she
She's doing good. Oh, she's rowdy as all get out, so she's fine.
Is she back at work yet, or is she still home with you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, she was at work all week.
Good stuff. Okay, well, thank you, Austin. We're going to let you go, and we're going to wrap up the show.
All right. Peace.
Groovy.
See you, sir.
Thanks.
Hey, Will.
I enjoy the fact that when I make a murder chickens joke, only the Canadians get it. Or the Cobra chickens,
Cobra chickens?
because we know what those are, and he's Canadian or he's American. Sorry, he wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. Well, that was a lot of fun, actually, Will.
It was.
I always
I learned
enjoy
more about
having
stocks.
Austin on because he's balanced. He's very American, and yet he's pretty much has a pretty good viewpoint.
He does, yeah.
And he's my son-in-law.
I suppose I love him.
Well, I do because he married my daughter.
I certainly hope you do if you married your daughter.
So
if
for
not by
those,
choice, then by proxy.
that's right. So for those of you who are still watching us, we would like to invite you to buy us a coffee.
Hey, the final plug.
You can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Will and Dave Show, and you can buy
Yeah.
us a coffee.
Which
Help
is
put
just
the show
a
on the
small
map.
one-time donation to help support the show as we
Yeah.
grow it.
It's been a lot of fun doing, and we're going to keep on doing it for a while yet. Next week,
Heck yeah.
we have a guest. Her name is Ann Dickout, and she's a counselor, and she has worked with youth and families, and she has a COVID for she has a COVID. She has a unique perspective on COVID, which is actually it's very enlightening. And I shouldn't
Yeah.
have said the word because now apparently it's as bad as a swear
did
word
it.
for getting you
Now I,
dropped.
can, now I can swear all I want. 'Cause
That's
you already, sorry, you darned us.
I just got a text from our family who haven't figured out how to chat yet. So they were watching and he texted me. That was a ding in the background because I forgot to turn on the do not disturb mode on my computer.
See, this is why we're still growing the show. We're still amateurs.
And our family hasn't figured out how to chat yet in the show
Yeah.
to bring the algorithm up with that interaction stuff. So Mallory,
We'll teach 'em with
Murray, and Doug comment in the show already. So yeah. So we will see you next week with Ann Dickout, and we will talk on counseling and mental health because it's a big concern in America and Canada.
Yeah.
So
All
until
right.
next week.
Stay safe. Don't die.